When dealing with different data sets, sometimes you have a lot of categories. When you have a lot of categories, you would visually display the data using a bar graph, line graph, or maybe a pictogram. But when the number of categories is small, you may choose to use something different, like a pie chart. A pie chart, it describes the relative frequencies of the categories. The pie represents the entire population, or 100%. The slices represent the categories or classes, with each slice having a central angle. Now, a central angle, what that is it's the angle that each slice is. So let's say a slice is 25%. Well, that corresponds with a central angle of 90 degrees. Now, this one is very easy to construct, but sometimes you might have something like 12.3% or something like that. And what would the central angle of that slice be? To calculate the central angle, what you do is you take the relative frequency and you multiply it by 3.6. So now we're really ready to construct a pie chart. Now the steps to making a pie chart are, number one, to change the frequencies to relative frequencies. A lot of times you'll be given a frequency table, and so you need to change a frequency table into relative frequencies. And remember, that's found by the relative frequency is found by taking the frequency and dividing it by n. And if n isn't given in the frequency table, you're going to have to add up all the frequencies to figure out what n is. Step 2 is to calculate the central angle. And you just take the relative frequency and multiply it by 3.6. And then finally, graph and label your pie chart. So we're going to look at an example. This example deals with the enrollments at Tasmania State University. You can see here there's different majors: agriculture, business, education, humanities, science, and other. And the enrollments, or the frequencies of students enrolled in that major, are listed here. So I just constructed a table here of all the schools, their frequency. So agriculture is 2,400, business is 1,250, education is 2,840, humanities 3,350, science 4,870, and other 290. So the first step is to calculate the relative frequency. So we know the frequencies, but we don't know what n is. So we need to figure out what n is. So we just need to add up all of these frequencies. So n equals 24 plus 2,400 plus 1,250 plus 2,840 plus 3,350 plus 4,870 plus 290 equals 15,000. So that's what n equals. So now we're ready to calculate the relative frequency. So of agriculture, it's just 2,400 divided by 15,000. We get 16%. And then business is 1,250, the frequency divided by n, which is 8.3%. And you just do the same process for education, humanities, science, and other. Now, once you have all of those relative frequencies, the next step is to calculate each central angle. So you just take the percentage, 16, multiply it by 3.6, and you get 58 degrees. That means that slice is has an angle of 58 degrees. Then you go to business. Business is relative frequency of 8.3%, so you go 8.3 times 3.6, and you get 30 degrees. And then you just follow this same process and get 68 degrees for education, 80 degrees for humanities, 117 degrees for science, and 7 degrees for other. Now we have all of the information needed to actually start to construct our pie chart. So on this piece of paper, I have the table listed here of all the information we just did. And so I'm just going to start constructing. I'm going to use the easiest numbers, the ones that have are pretty straightforward, 80 and 30. I'm going to construct 80 and then 30 and then 58. So I'm going to use my protractor here, and I lined it up. Here's the center of the circle, and the protractors, it just goes by 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. That's going to be my first hash mark. Now from here I can count 30. So 10, 20, 30. That would be my business. And then from 30, I'm going to count the the 58 degrees. So that would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 55, 56, 57, 58. So right about there. And I'm just going to take these and construct the slices. And then label. So 80 degrees is humanities. It has a central angle of 80 degrees and it is 22.3%. The next one was the 30 degrees. That was business for 8.3%. So we have, and then we did the 58 degrees, which was agriculture. For 16%. Now I'm just going to turn it, and I'm going to graph the 117 degrees and the 7 degrees next. So I'm going to mark my center, line it up with this line, the last line segment that I just constructed. Okay, and we're going to count to 117. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 105, 106, 107. That's going to be right there. And then I'm going to mark the 7 degree. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Go ahead. Draw those lines. So this was 117 degrees. This was 7 degrees. 117 degrees was science, which was 32.47%. And I don't have enough room, so I'm just going to make a little line that says other. Other is 1.93%. So the only category I have left to construct is education, and there's one here, so I just need to fill it in. Education for 18.93%. Now the last thing for the pie chart is just to title it. So enrollments at Tasmania State University, and whenever we're dealing with relative frequencies, it is very important that we have that n equals what n equals. And in this case, there's 15,000 students, so n equals 15,000.